Hello and welcome back to the Opposites Abroad podcast, your favourite podcast, or so we hope, about all things travel. Charlie Bosco here, joined as ever by my good friend TT down in Denver. And today, as weird as it might sound, because it is hot here, low 30s.
Low 30s centigrade.
Yeah, low 30s centigrade. I don't know what that is in your backwards Fahrenheit system, 100 or something.
I think it's like 20,000 leagues or something.
Yeah. I mean, I think we actually cracked that joke on the last podcast.
It's such a good joke.
Yeah, I know. Dad jokes are always worth a second run as well.
Well, I stopped with my Prince Andrew joke, so now I need a new running joke every week.
Yeah, but the Prince Andrew one was better than the families or the leagues one or whatever it is you keep cracking. Stick with Prince Andrew. But no, as bizarre as it might seem, we're going to talk about skiing and ski trips, and I suppose probably leaning more towards adventurous ski trips.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting.
Yeah, so just as a bit of context, I've done a lot of ski mountaineering, which is where you hike up or skin up, if we're getting technical. Definitely not the same as skinning up a joint, although sometimes you can do both in the same day. Yeah, when you hike up and you ski down, and obviously that takes you to some quite out there places. It involves some element of personal risk, and yeah, it involves some big adventures both on and off the mountain. Sometimes getting to the mountain is an adventure in itself. So hopefully an interesting topic. And if people do enjoy it, then I've got a friend who's one of the best ski mountaineers on the planet, and we could totally get him on and pick his brains about it, because he's definitely playing in the elite league and I'm in the kind of Sunday with your buddies league.
And I really don't want to do any of it.
And you're doing pizza you're doing pizza on the green slope.
Yeah. I would prefer to sit at a bar and overlook and watch you ski, I think.
Yeah, but sitting outside the bar and having a beer is one of the best parts of any ski day.
Yes, but some of the stuff you do is absolutely amazing, because you've done where like helicopters drop you off and things like that, which you only really see in movies.
Yeah, and honestly that's super cool, because anytime you fly in a heli is cool, but when you're coming in hot and you know that when the machine leaves, you are on your own for 10 days, 12 days.
Yeah.
It's a really weird thing, but it's great. So, yeah, we can totally talk about that.
Does anybody snowboard this kind of stuff, or is it all skiing?
You can. So you can get something called a split board, where what it sounds like, the snowboard splits in half, and then you kind of fiddle with the bindings, and then so you've got one half on each foot, and you can go uphill. You can slide them uphill with the skin on the bottom. But I think once you get into really meaningful terrain, it's actually a bit of a pain having a split board, and it requires a lot of playing around, a lot of faffing about. And I only knew one person on a split board who didn't hold you up every time. You call it transitioning. When you go from down to up or up to down, you have to change your bindings and take the skins off your skis or put them on. And I only knew one split boarder that didn't hold people up when she transitioned. But sadly, actually, we talked about risk. She got killed in Patagonia in 2014. She's called Liz Daly. If you look her up, just a person that had everything going for her. Aspirant, trainee mountain guide, really great looking. Just got engaged about 2 weeks before, so that was super sad. But Liz...
And how'd she die? Skiing?
Yeah, she was... I'm not sure if they were filming or doing photographs in Patagonia, and she dropped into a slope, and it triggered, and yeah, I think, as I understand it, she went over a cliff. I actually know one of the people that was with her, but for obvious reasons, you probably haven't really asked him too much about it. So yeah, and sadly, another kind of legend of the game, two people actually, who I kind of knew to say hi to, got killed the same day in a different valley, a couple of valleys away in Patagonia. So it was a bad year for avalanches over there. But yeah, that was a bit of a detour. But yeah, you can split board, but Liz Daly, as I say, was the only split boarder I've never had to wait for. So
yeah, I'm googling her right now, and yeah, died in in Argentina. Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, it was bad, but a lot of stuff's been done in her name. There was a Live Like Liz organization that's kind of inspiring young kids to get out into the mountains. And yeah, she was great.
When people die in accidents like that, is it generally something they did, or is it just the luck of the draw of the mountain?
So 80% of avalanche victims triggered the avalanche that killed them. So generally, you trigger it. Yeah, it doesn't mean
that it's your fault, right? Because it's just trigger.
Because I mean, it's always your fault if you trigger an avalanche to an extent, because the option is always there just to sit at home, so you don't have to go. But I've definitely been in situations where you can't go back the way you came because it might be more dangerous than the way you're going, so you have to ski it. And if it triggered, then I guess it is your fault, but it was the least bad of two options. So there's always a lot of nuance and subtlety to it.
Have you ever been involved in an avalanche?
I have not. Quite proud of that, because I calculated recently I've probably done, I think, about 800 ski mountaineering days, which is a lot of time, and very few of those was in mellow terrain. So you need terrain of about 30 degrees and upwards to have avalanches. Anything below that, you don't really get avalanches. So, and the vast majority of my ski mountaineering's been done in glaciated and/or steepish, meaningful terrain. So there's always an element of luck for sure, but yeah, touch wood, every piece of wood going. I haven't, no.
Are you touch? No, never mind. Do they still use Saint Bernards with rum around their neck?
They not to find avalanche victims, but they do find them. Yeah, I tell you what, I've worked with some search and rescue avalanche dogs, and they're incredible.
I bet.
Yeah, they're fully heli trained and stuff. So
yeah. They can fly. They can fly helicopters.
Exactly. Yeah, they struggle to reach the pedals for the tail rotor. But no, they're amazing. You can if there's a hot entry to a helicopter, which is where it basically the skids touch down, but essentially it's hovering, just touching. You know, it's like holding the clutch on a hill in a car, and the dog will just calmly sit down, and the door slides open, and when it gets the instruction, it'll jump in, even with a hot landing, with all noise and downdraft that comes with. And then when they jump out, they're like a bullet to the victim, and then just start digging immediately. They're amazing.
That's
not,
awesome.
They're definitely not San Bernards. They'd probably make it worse. They're so heavy they crush the victim.
Yeah, but you get that run.
Yeah, exactly. And you need that. But no, in terms of avalanche safety, no, never been involved myself. Lost quite a few friends to avalanches, and yeah, most of them triggered the avalanche that killed them. One of them didn't. So the 80% rule, if you like, is reflected in my personal statistics of people I know who've got killed in avalanches. So yeah, you can absolutely survive one, but its survivability is dependent on a lot of factors. So very keen to keep up my record.
So this last weekend you went skiing. Did you heli in there, or did you?
No, we hiked in.
You hiked in, and
yeah,
what was
helis cost a lot of money.
Yeah, I was going to say, what does it cost to hire a helicopter?
I did a trip last April, and we were in the heli for about 45 minutes, and that included a drop. So we were traversing a mountain range. So we got dropped at one end and spent 10 days traveling under our own steam to get to the other end. So we were in the helicopter about 45 minutes, and that included landing halfway along our route to drop a food cache. So we didn't carry 10 days food, we carried 5 days, got to our cache.
Yeah.
So 45 minutes, including 2 landings, and then obviously the machine's got to fly back. And I think we paid, I want to say, 2,500 Canadian.
For how many people?
4.
That's not too terrible.
It's not crazy, but if you want a heli ski whereby the heli's flying you all day, picks you up, you ski, it picks you up again, drops you off, you ski, picks you up again. Then it's thousands and thousands per day.
Yeah.
So it's not. I mean, for a one-off drop, if you're in the machine half an hour to an hour between 4 people, it's probably pretty reasonable. You're definitely looking at under $1,000 US per person. But if you want to be in it multiple times a day, then you better get your credit card out.
So tell us about the trip this last weekend. What was that like?
So we went and skied Mount Baker, which is one of the Washington state volcanoes. And yeah, it was amazing. Hiked in from the trailhead, hiked about 2 hours, slept at the toe of the glacier, and then climbed up the next day and onto the summit and skied back down. And we went from the summit to Five Guys Burger Joint in Chilliwack.
I love that. That Five Guys is great.
Yeah, we went from the summit to Five Guys in 4 hours, which, considering an hour of it is driving, felt pretty fast.
Yeah,
So,
I would have
it
liked
was
that
great.
part.
Yeah, and we skied past a lot of people who were slogging downhill, and we were just ripping past them, so it was great. Yeah. So no, it's I find it a very interesting thing, but I'm always aware when you describe it to people how utterly bizarre it sounds.
The
The idea
hiking.
that- yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I think most people can get on board with sliding around, having a good time, drinking a beer, getting on a chairlift.
So when you're doing these kind of backcountry skiing, it's called backcountry skiing, right?
Back country.
Backcountry. Oh, that shows how much I know. Backcountry skiing. Is it? Or are you on people's property on? Is it legal? Are you trespassing, or is it? Do you know where you are? Like, how does that all work?
Almost all of it is public land, or it's land that might be privately owned, but there'll be essentially a right to roam is what they call it in Scotland. It'll have different names everywhere, but I started out doing this in Scotland, and they call it right to roam. So you might be on some person's land, but it's been negotiated that people can use it under certain terms. But certainly, so in Canada, probably most of the country is what they call crown land. So
Yeah.
that essentially means you can go where you want and do what you want. There are designated non-motorized crown lands. So, for example, a lot of the areas we go ski touring, you can't take a sled, a skidoo.
Yeah.
And in the US, a lot of it is national parks, wilderness areas. It's designated public land of some form or other.
When you do this, you're not following like a trail or anything because nobody's been there before in the snow, or has it? Is it all fresh snow, and you're the first person to kind of go down?
It's nice if someone has been ahead of you, because then you don't have to break the trail. You can just follow we call it a skin track. Going uphill is called skinning, because you have skins on the bottom of your feet, on the bottom of your skis, and you release your heel. You need a specific type of bind, and then the ski will slide uphill but not slide downhill. Then
Like cross-country skiing, basically.
It looks like cross-country skiing, but it's a normal ski with a different binding on. So
that sounds brutal.
So when you're at the top, you take the skin off, you flip the binding around so your heel is no longer loose, and then you've just got a normal pair of skis. So yeah, it's great if someone has gone first. If they haven't, it can be incredibly hard work. The difference between going first and second is night and day. The difference between going second and 10th is night and day again. So if there's a group ahead of you, it's often the case that I've been breaking trail, and the people behind me initially seem to close up really fast as if they'd like to go quicker, and then when they realise that you're breaking the trail, they mysteriously slow down and have to get something out of their pack, because basically they can't be bothered breaking the trail. So if you're on a trip, so the trip I did last April, we were out for I think it ended up being 9 days. I think we packed for 12 days, but we got good weather. We were out for 9, and we didn't have a single track to follow, so we broke our own trail the whole way. So that was 120 kilometers.
Wow.
Including a lot of up and down. Yeah. So, yeah, going first sucks.
Would you ever go by yourself, or would you always go with the group? Is it too risky to go by yourself?
I have gone by myself, but you're really playing with a lot of risk there, because if you get avalanched, you essentially have no chance of survival if you're alone. And if you fall over and bang your head, or fall over and seriously injure yourself, or I mean, even if you you do something relatively minor, like you snap, it sounds minor, if you snap your tibia and fibia, your lower limb, your lower leg bone, if you cannot move and you don't have cell signal, then it's game over, because you're not going to survive the temperatures. So I actually carry something called an InReach, which will allow your phone to work anywhere in the world. So
okay, I was going to say, what do you do if you broke your leg and you're out in the middle of nowhere? What do you do?
You got to call search and rescue, but there's no guarantee that they'll be effective or able to get to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been rescued a couple of times, but that was in France where they have exceptional mountain rescue.
And what happened there? Like, why'd you need to be rescued?
It was user error. Well, we went to ski a huge face in Chamonix in tribute to a friend of ours who got killed.
Yeah.
And he'd always been saying, man, I want to ski there. He'd always pointed at it as this huge thing he wanted to ski. And it's a big face. It's a vertical relief of a mile. So it's a big face. And yeah, we got about halfway down it, realized we couldn't go down because conditions were too bad. So we thought, okay, we'll sit it out until it gets cold at night, and then we'll put crampons on and we'll climb out with ice axes and crampons, and we'll get out. And so we sat down to wait for it to get cold, to wait for nightfall basically, and we'd have had a 3 or 4 hour climb out. It was a long way out from where we were. And we happened to check the weather forecast. Luckily, this was in the days of smartphones. We checked the weather forecast, and the storm was forecast that hadn't been forecast that morning. And so we suddenly realised that we wouldn't be able to climb out. So we couldn't go down. We couldn't wait for it to get cold so we could go up. We were kind of hooped. Just had to sit where we were. So yeah, we had to call them. But
And how'd they rescue you, with a helicopter, or how does it?
Yeah, they're the best pilots in the world though. They were flying around, and I'm on my phone, and we're speaking French. And I was saying to the guy, "You're at the right altitude. I'm wearing red. I'm waving," and he's going, "I can't see you." It's this huge, huge face. It must be 2 miles wide and a mile high. And yeah, he was saying, "I can't see you. It's getting dark. The storm is coming." And basically like we might leave soon. And eventually he saw us, and he just said, "Okay, yeah, we see you." And they just flew in. And I actually thought they would send a long line down.
Yeah.
Where you clip into it with a harness. But he just brought it in sideways, and the door opened, and guy got out and helped us load our gear and shut the door and flew away. This is quite surreal. 10 minutes later, we were driving home. So
Did it charge you?
no, it's free. Search and rescue is generally free in most places in the world. So
Okay.
not everywhere.
Do you carry insurance for all your skiing and climbing and all that stuff, like a separate thing? Or
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, it's a lot more expensive. A friend of mine said to me, "Yeah, my life insurance, I just didn't put that I ski tour because basically they won't insure you if you ski tour." And I said, "Yeah, but by far the most likely way that you don't make it to retirement is you die in the mountains. Like statistically, if
Yeah.
you do enough of this stuff,
Yeah.
it's more likely to kill you than any other part of your life. So why take the insurance out if the most likely reason it needs to pay out is voided anyway?" So yeah, I take insurance out.
So if you're someone, let's say you're just a normal skier, and because I live in Colorado, so you ski Vail and Breckenridge, and you're a good skier, but you want to get into this, how does somebody even make that transition?
You just got to start educating yourself, and ideally you find some mentors. If you can't find mentors, you just pay a mountain guide. Just find a guide. There are guides anywhere there's mountains. There'll be mountain guides.
Yeah.
And just get them to take you out and just say, "I want to get into ski touring." You might have to rent the kit for the first few days. If you might not like it. If you like it, you can buy the kit, but you can rent it all and just start getting educated. Primarily on avalanche terrain and avalanche rescue. So there is companion. If someone gets avalanched and you're with them, there is a kind of system to get them out. Doesn't mean it's going to work, but there is the survivability amongst people that are found within 10 minutes is extremely high. So they'll teach you about avalanche analysis of terrain and avalanche rescue. But terrain is really a lifelong journey to understand. And the reason that people get killed after 20 years is because they made a mistake. So it's not, you're never perfect at it. It's about, but if you can understand a few basic rules and the basic pyramid of the 3 things it takes to cause an avalanche, then you're in, and you just keep practicing and you keep pushing it, then you're in with a shot. But I think the key is start easy and then go from there.
It's interesting because my dad was a pilot, and my dad always had a saying, I'm sure that's from like the 50s. That is, there are old pilots and there are bold pilots, but there's no old bold pilots.
Yeah.
And I kind of have always thought about that with other things too. Like if you play with fire long enough, you're going to get burned, and if you're doing things that are risky and you start getting reckless or pushing, eventually it's gonna catch up to you.
Yeah, I think so. And I think if you look at top climbers and ski mountaineers, people look at someone like Alex Honnold, the star of Free Solo,
Yeah,
which I'm in, by the way. I hope you noticed.
I remember you telling me that.
My voice is in it for about 5 seconds.
That's awesome.
They never asked for permission.
Oh, you should sue him.
I totally should. And I didn't get an invite to the Oscars. But no, I think if you look at someone like Alex Honnold, he's still around. But if I think about, if I go through in my brain people I knew who were engaged in high-level free solo rock climbing or really, really top-end ski mountaineering, the odds are not good if you do that your whole life. That's what I would say. You can totally get away with it.
Yeah.
People do die old in their beds who've done this, I'm not talking about at my level, but people that are really at the cutting edge. But I would say, yeah, it's not, what you say about old and bold is pretty true. There are very, very few old, bold climbers and skiers out there.
What pushes people to be that way? Is it just the adrenaline rush, or
I've spent a lot of time thinking about that, and I think you can't put yourself in their shoes, because to a lot of people, what I do, so for example on Mount Baker at the weekend, we're traveling through glaciated terrain, so there are crevasses. You can fall into a crevasse, and that isn't a good thing to happen. We had a couple of turns right off the summit that were kind of icy and steep, and if you fell in the process of making those turns, it's hard to imagine there would have been a good outcome. So you have to make that turn with pretty high consequences if you don't make it. So people would probably look at that and say it's completely insane, but to me, I've done enough of it that I'm really comfortable in that environment. I'm not even nervous. I just know what I'm doing. So I think if you have the natural ability and the mental ability to really push it, your comfort zone just expands. And I don't think there are many people out there who think they're going to die. I think most people think they've got a handle on it. And I think it's just, if you get really, really good, then your comfort zone gets so huge that you just end up operating at this incredibly high level. And that's, and then when you're operating at that level, there are just huge consequences if you get it wrong, but you're so comfortable and you're so good at what you do that you're okay accepting those consequences. It's just the inevitable. It's the inevitable consequence of playing the game at a higher and higher level. Is it gets more and more dangerous.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've always, even as a kid, been very risk averse when it comes to like physical things, and I don't know why that is, because we all get our kicks, or we are risky in different ways, and I mean, just the fact that you and I met in North Korea, that hardly anyone I know would even think about doing that trip, because they consider it so dangerous. And I've been to Haiti and some other really places that are considered very dangerous, and that doesn't bother me. But when I was a kid and the neighbor kids would like BMX biking and skateboarding and jumping off of crazy things, I was like, I don't really want to get hurt. Like I did some of that stuff, but I did it like at the ground level, and so to me it's just so foreign for me of like, I'm gonna climb up here, and if the rock slips out of my hand, or something triggers an avalanche, or a Yeti grabs me or something when I'm out in the Himalayas, like, I don't know, just not my thing.
No, I get it, but I think I'm incredibly risk averse by.
Are you really?
Yeah. The amount of times I've gone out there and just gone, no, don't like this, I'm going home. And if someone tries to convince me that we shouldn't go home, I don't like to ski with them anymore. I like to ski with people, and I've done it with other people. You go out and they look at a slope and they go, I think that's dangerous. I don't think we should ski it.
Yeah.
And I never say, I think it's okay. I always just say, hey, you don't like it, we'll go home. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I think
tomorrow's another day. I don't care. I don't need to get to the summit. I don't need to ski the line. I will call a rescue. I don't care. I want to come home. So I'm very, very risk adverse, but knowledge is power. And so whilst we might be standing in a position where I'd be eating my lunch, people who've never done it could be clinging onto the rock, just believing that they're in mortal danger. But I think
which is what I would be doing. Yes.
Yeah, but when you've done enough of it, you kind of sit there and you think, I know where the danger is.
Yeah.
I know that the danger's over to the left. If we go left, we're in loads of danger, but actually where we are here, we're good. And if we go right, we're totally good. And that's just an understanding of where you're at. I mean, imagine if you'd never been in a car before and you got in a car with someone who could drive, even just around the highways, let alone on a racetrack, and you'd never been in a vehicle.
Yeah.
You would just think, this is insane.
Yeah, or a
How
plane.
can we possibly survive this journey?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's probably just like any travel companion, because it's the same thing. Like if you and I were somewhere, and it's like, I want to go to this bar, and it's down this alley, and it looks super sketchy, and I'm like, nope, like I'm not walking down there at night. Like we're gonna get robbed or jacked or something, and you start pushing me to do it, then I'm probably like, I'm not traveling with this person again. Like,
but it's. I think it's so easy, and I've heard people say to me, Alex Honnold and all these people, they must be insane. Like, well, they're not insane. They're just really, really good at something, and they're willing to take the risk of doing it.
yeah,
And I would never say that the risk is comparable, but every time you get in a car, if you look at the statistics of how many people get killed in the United States every year in a car, you'd be able to work out a per mile risk of dying in a car crash.
yeah,
And nobody gets in their car and goes, is going to Walmart worth the risk of X divided by X?
yeah.
No one thinks like that. Everybody takes a risk. I'm not in any way suggesting the risk is comparable, but everybody, in some way, takes a risk with their life because they think that what they'll get out of it is worth it. Whether that's getting your groceries at Walmart or free soloing a rock climb, they think that the risk is worth it for what they'll get out of it. And it's the people doing this stuff at the top end of it are just making that exact same calculation, and they're not insane any more than anyone else. They're some of the most calm, calculating people you'll ever meet. They just have things that they're able to do and they want to do that are beyond my comprehension, but those experiences must be incredible. And you do only live once, and
Yes.
if you can have that the experience of free soloing El Capitan like he does on Free Solo is something that I just can't even imagine. That must be a mind-blowing experience. And I do think that it's easy to say, and it's harder to live it, and I've had to live it when friends have got killed, but I do think that doing what you want to do with your life is better than lying in bed at 80 and going, I really wish I'd done all this stuff, and I was too scared to do it.
Yeah.
And you've lived that as well, hey? You've been some sketchy places.
I do, and that's kind of my philosophy on life. We've talked about before in the podcast, where I feel like most people regret things that they didn't do, and it's like, and so many people, and I feel like you should say yes to everything, or say yes to everything that's comfortable for you. And so many people, it's like, do you want to go here? No. Do you want to try this food? No. Do you want to, do you want to, even you meet somebody and maybe it's just a romantic thing, and do you want to meet for dinner? No. And because people are just so scared to take any kind of chances, and generally things happen and they're fun and they're exciting, and you kind of find out what's best for you and what you want to take risk on and what you don't. But I mean, there's people who won't go on planes, and it's way more risky to drive to Walmart than it is to go fly on a plane to Europe. But whatever people are comfortable with. And I don't like heights in general. Like, heights make me nervous. I don't like going up on high buildings and looking down particularly. And I don't like really confined spaces. And I don't like my face underwater. So those three things kind of kill my nature adventuring. So I get my kicks from exploring cities, or I do like hiking and things like that. But I'm not someone who's gonna, hike up a mountain and and go into a cave where I've got to like, exhale all my air to squeeze through some crack to get into some cave. Like, I am not doing it. There's just no way.
No, I'm the same though, but I'm scared of water, so I can't believe people can go surfing.
Yeah.
Like, because I just get pummeled when I go. I've tried to surf a few times. I tried at Venice Beach when we met in LA.
Yeah.
And I just got hammered by it, and it scares me. And I don't like kayaking on white water.
Yeah.
I'm not a confident swimmer, but I think
which is
people
weird since you're from an island.
Yeah, I know. I'd probably swim away from it these days. But I think that's probably something that people need to grasp when they talk about people being insane, or they watch Free Solo. That guy's an idiot. How can he do that?
Yeah.
Is everyone's got things that they find scary and they don't find scary.
Yes.
And I've tried to not, when I see someone doing something I think is insane, if they're well informed and they know what they're getting into, I just think, well, you only get one life.
Yeah.
And if that's what you want to do and you think the risk is worth it and you have the maturity to make that calculation, then go for it. And I think we all have our like, for me, paddling down a very small, by real standards, rapid in a canoe would be terrifying, and I would be certain I was going to drown. I know plenty of people who do it backwards with their eyes closed. So yeah, I just think the thing with risk is to always try and understand it a little bit more than just saying, well, they're mad and that's it. The end.
Just, we're kind of got off topic a little bit, but I'm just curious. Have you ever met anybody in all your years of all this kind of what people would consider extreme sports or extreme outdoor sports? Have you ever met anybody you thought had a death wish?
That's a good question. No, I don't think I do. I mean,
good.
I think I've definitely met some people where they know they're not going to make it, which is different. They want to stay alive. They're doing everything they can to stay alive, but the reality of what they're doing is such that it's all but impossible for them to survive it long term. So I've definitely met people who I think I knew and they knew wouldn't make it, and they didn't. But that's different from wanting to die. They didn't want to die, but they were just playing the game at such a... And maybe they would say, no, I've got it under control, I'm all good. But I think when you're playing the game at a certain level, you have to accept consequences. And if you just keep playing it, keep playing, it's your number's going to come up in the end. But no, I've never met anyone. I don't think... I think people are too rational. Yeah.
Well,
to do that.
Since you're British, I have a reference. Speaking of this, I was reading a thing about the character James Bond, and I always kind of wondered why James Bond, he drinks like crazy. He's a womanizer. He is very, very reckless to get in all the movies, and the character is just a very reckless character. And basically, what it said was that when Ian Fleming wrote James Bond, he wrote James Bond as a man who thinks he's always going to die because of his job. Yeah. So he lives every day like he's probably going to die, and and that's why he drinks like crazy. That's why he sleeps with every woman spy he can find, because he just doesn't think he's going to survive his career, or he doesn't survive his job, and he lives in that crazy thing. And I thought that was kind of fascinating. It made the character to me even more interesting than he's just this drunk womanizer's secret agent. Like it actually has a psychological reason for it. Yeah, absolutely. And I've just, I think over the years, and in my job, I've interviewed or spent time with a lot of very cutting edge mountain folk, and I've really got over kind of judging them. Yeah. And thinking you must be crazy. Yeah. Because they're really not, but they have stuff they want to do, and they think the risk is worth it, and they're rational, and they want to live a long time, but they just might not. But the old saying goes, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. Yeah. And they're just exemplifying that. So hats off to them. For me, I want the best of both worlds, which is where most people that I know live, which is I want to do this stuff, and it carries an element of risk,
and I accept that. But I'm going to do everything in my power to minimize it. I'm never going to push on when I'm not comfortable. I'm not going to hang out with people that try and make me push on when I'm not comfortable. I'm going to ski with smart people that want to live a long time. And the reality is that the overwhelming likelihood is that I will be just fine doing this because of the level I'm doing it at and the risk I take. But there is for sure a risk that I won't be fine. The overwhelming the statistics are firmly on my side. For the vast majority of people, do this their whole lives and are fine.
Have you ever thought about seeing a fortune teller and just asking how you're going to die, and then you know?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. That's a good question. Yeah, I might throw that out. I might try that. But yeah, I think, as I say, if you look at my pictures or if you came out with me for the day, you might think I'm operating at a high level, but having seen what people operating at a high level looks like, I'm just messing around in the park on a Saturday compared to what some people do. So my risk, I think, is very acceptable.
So if someone's gonna start this, you said get a guide, but where in the world is kind of the best and worst for this kind of skiing? Or where would you recommend or not recommend?
The Alps is the best place to start because you've got infrastructure, you've got mountain huts, you've got loads of mountain guides. It's logistically, it's very straightforward. Tons of people around, excellent mountain rescue. If you don't have a mountain guide and you get in trouble, you've got excellent mountain rescue. So I would say there. Colorado, I'm sure, is great. Anywhere where there's qualified good people, you'll be just fine. You just got to learn the game and don't rush. Just take it bit by bit. Each year build up. Maybe have a goal each year. Don't need to be welded to goals, but sometimes it's nice to say, by the end of this year, I'd like to be expert enough to do X. And if you get to X and you realise that you haven't got good enough, then just turn around and do it next year. It doesn't matter. But just build up slowly. Nothing beats experience, I would say. If I could go skiing with a person who'd done 500 ski touring days but never had formal instruction, or someone who'd been on 10 courses, I'll take the 500-day person.
Yeah.
Nothing beats mileage. As long as you're learning from it. As long as you're taking lessons home from it and not just being lucky. But yeah, mileage. Just do loads of it. And if it probably took me a solid 5 years skiing 80 to 100 days a year to get any good at it. So just don't try and shortcut it. And
where would you not go? Or where would you recommend people don't go?
Just anywhere remote. Yeah, you got to think. You can always add consequence. So being remote adds consequence. Having no meaningful search and rescue nearby adds consequence. Skiing somewhere where there are no avalanche bulletins, no avalanche forecasts to read, adds consequence. Somewhere with bad weather forecasting adds consequence. So the more remote you go, the sketchier it gets because you're betting more and more on your own ability and you're having to figure out more and more. When you ski in a popular area, there'll be an avalanche bulletin, there'll be a weather forecast, there'll be people around. You don't want to rely on search and rescue, but there's no point pretending it's not a factor. It's there. So, yeah, just stay in your comfort zone and expand your comfort zone slowly. I think a climber put it best in his book once. He said, jumping into the deep end is a great way of learning to swim, but history abounds with climbers that swam too far too soon and never came back. So yeah, just don't jump in the deep end. The deep end can wait. Just figure it out. And I still, honestly, every day, the old adage, every day is a school day. I have never been out ski touring and not learned something. Or not thought, we should have gone left there.
Well, travel's that way. Travel's that way in general.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's the same thing we always talk about.
Yeah. I'm sold. I'm totally sold.
All right.
I'm gonna go buy some skis, I think.
Some ski touring.
What does it cost to get into it? Because it's not the same skis as like your normal ski, right?
It's essentially normal skis, but you need specialist bindings. Okay. You need the boots are more or less the same, or there's slight technical differences. But if you saw me skiing around the ski hill, unless you got up close and looked at my bindings, you would not realise that I'm on different gear to the next person.
Yeah,
I would look the same, just a worse skier than the next person. But I'd say a few thousand. You need an avalanche beacon. You need a shovel, you need an avalanche probe, you need you need. Generally, when I can, I ski with an airbag, which is where you have a pull handle and it'll inflate. It doesn't surround you like on Bond, but a large, so maybe 3 foot wide, hard balloon basically comes out of the bag, and it should keep you afloat in an avalanche. So I would say you need to budget for at least a few grand, and then instruction. Put it this way: if you had $1,000 to spend, you're better spending it on hiring a mountain guide for 2 days than you are buying an airbag.
Yeah.
The best money you'll ever spend
Yeah.
is someone that tells you that tells you how to stay alive. So, budget for a few grand and budget for a ton of time. It's not a quick. It's like getting into golf. You're not going to suddenly be good. You got to say, right, I'm dedicating myself to this, and I'm going to get good at it. That's how you do it.
Well, any last thoughts or advice for people?
No, I enjoy it a lot. I recommend it to anyone, and it gives you a good excuse to travel. Been to loads of places I wouldn't have been otherwise. So, but no, I really enjoy it. I think it's worth what I consider to be pretty minimal risk. I get a huge amount out of it. So, yeah, anyone that's ever driven a car, crossed a road, been on a plane, has taken a risk. So, yeah, the other thing I would say is don't be too quick to judge your perception of other people's risk.
And if people want to see you skiing or see pictures of your stuff, what's the best way for them to do that?
Probably my website. My website's got a couple of cool pictures, charliebosco.com, and my newly reformed Instagram, charliebosco1, after Charlie Bosco got deleted by hackers, has got some. I think I got less than 100 followers, so I really need some Instagram. I had 4,000 before. They're all gone.
I know, that sucks. I enjoy my Instagram, and I'd be devastated if it got hacked and deleted.
I wasn't that bothered, but it was kind of nice to have that reach. But whatever, I didn't really care. Yeah, website. But anyway, it was fun for me. You just had to sit and listen.
No, it's super interesting. Thank you.
All right, we'll speak next week.
Sounds good.